From the studios of KENW on the campus of Eastern New Mexico University, it's You Should Know, featuring the people and events of Eastern New Mexico and West Texas.
Welcome to You Should Know. I'm your host, Evelyn Ledbetter, and today I have the pleasure of having Dr. Richard Schwarts join us here in the studios. And Rich, you wear a lot of hats. Department Chair of Art and Music in the College of Fine Arts, correct?
Correct.
And then you teach as well, very actively.
I attempt to.
No, you are beyond. You don't attempt. You do an amazing job. But saxophone and jazz studies, that's your specialty, and I've had the privilege of listening to you play several times. I'm like a groupie. I follow you when you play and try to always hit those. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I grew up in South Jersey, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I have two younger brothers and an older sister. And my parents, my father was born in Brooklyn, and my mother in Northeast Philadelphia.
Okay. So, and you were basically the middle child. You and another shared that commonality.
Yeah, the oldest son, which means I was the schlepper, as they would say.
And what does that what would that mean? Like you're the one that got tagged with doing all the bad things?
Yeah, if the dishes need to be washed, that's the oldest son's job. If the lawn needs to be mowed, that's my job. If I need to help my father with tasks around the house, that's me. So yeah, that was me.
You were the workhorse.
Yeah.
Well, what an honor. No. So tell me this: your education, was music something that was just always part of you?
Yeah, as a young one taking piano lessons. Now, first of all, my mother from Northeast Philadelphia, her mother played piano, and in their household, they felt that it was of culture to learn the piano, and everyone took piano lessons. And she instilled that upon myself and my older sister and my two younger brothers. Each of us took piano lessons. And it seemed to make sense to me that as one played notes to the right side, things got higher in pitch. And as things went to the left side of the piano, things got lower in pitch. And it just seemed to make sense. And I would pound the piano, not necessarily pound, but I would play sheet music, and sometimes the chords would make sense, but then sometimes the chords would be dissonant, and I would have to get through the dissonance in my mind that this is actually harmonious. And it took me a while but anyway, I felt that music was something that I enjoy and I could see myself doing in the future.
That's interesting because that is not anything. I was the kid that had a notepad going around, writing letters out, and then I was using numbers and giving them names that weren't even numbers yet. So my mind that's interesting because I've never had somebody explain that, of how that aptitude in music.
It just felt comfortable. And when I was younger, I enjoyed playing the guitar. My father played the guitar and the recorder, and there was a lot of joy in the household when my mother played piano and my father played the recorder. There was no fighting.
There was calm with four children.
Yes, it was quiet, and we loved hearing our parents play music together.
And singing as well?
No, my father didn't really sing. He just played the recorder and guitar. My mother sang and played the piano, and it almost seemed to have a cathartic effect for her. She is a retired Philadelphia school teacher, and teaching at the time home economics, which is now family consumer science. So she would come home, and I think that would have a relaxing effect for her.
That was her wind down. That was her peace at the end of the day, where I go out and I pull weeds and dig in the dirt in the yard. That was hers. And so then what made you lean to or come to find that the saxophone was truly your passion?
Okay. It's kind of a funny story, and I'll make it short. I took piano lessons, and I knew I didn't always enjoy piano lessons because I had a piano teacher kind of from the old guard where they slapped your hand if you made a mistake. And I decided, you know what? I like music, but maybe not piano. Maybe I'll try the clarinet. So in fourth grade, I picked up the clarinet and told my parents, I'd like to transition from, piano to clarinet and see how that goes. And eventually, it took about a year, but eventually, uh, eventually I started playing the clarinet. And then in sixth grade, my band director needed low brass instruments but didn't have them. So he asked of me to play the tenor saxophone, which could play a similar voice of low brass. But there is a one of those bizarre younger stories that, or when you're younger, you have that influence. Well, since each of us played the piano when we were younger, my sister clearly did not like piano lessons. But my older sister also tended to be, and I'm sorry if I say this out loud, but tended to be a little domineering to her younger brothers. And she's 5 years older than I am.
A little bit bossy.
Just a little bit. And so I knew I could not physically get back at her. I knew, and she liked to use her nails and scrape us, pull our hair, etc., and I knew I could not get back at her physically. So I decided, I think I'm going to practice the piano to get better than her and make her angry. And so that's what I did. We all need
Right.
some sort of influence to get us to do what we want to do. And I think this was what influenced me.
That was your motivation.
Absolutely. That was my motivation to get better at the piano. And then my parents thought, ooh, he has interest and talent. Let's push him towards that. And the other kids, they don't need to take piano lessons anymore. So I was taking piano lessons for another year or so. And then I used the clarinet to transition from piano to clarinet and then eventually to saxophone. And I just enjoyed playing saxophone. I was also a high school, like an all-state choir kid as well for a couple years. And I thought about majoring in voice as well, but I do suffer from allergies, and I knew the reality was I wouldn't be able to perform at my best all the time.
It's not going to be there.
So
That is funny that you got back at your sister. I thought maybe you were picking up a horn or something so you could just annoy her with the noise when you're learning. So
now, when I practiced clarinet, it did annoy the entire family because we had a dog, and the dog enjoyed singing with us with
there
the
you
clarinet.
There you go.
So there was that dynamic going on in the household as well.
And how can they get on to you when you're practicing your music like a good boy? That's funny. My daughter, her brother was always honorary to her. And so her challenge, she wanted to have a higher degree than he had. That was her motivation because he told her she was doofy and wasn't very smart. So it's funny how those motivations happen.
Absolutely.
So you went on bachelor's, master's, and doctorate. Where did you attend school at?
For my undergraduate, Temple University in Philadelphia for a degree in music education.
Okay.
Master's degree at the University of Michigan for a performance degree in saxophone. And then finally the Doctorate of Musical Arts at Boston University.
Okay. How were we lucky enough to get you at Eastern New Mexico University in Portales, New Mexico?
I think it's the other way around. I'm very fortunate to be here in higher ed. It's, at least for saxophone, it's challenging to find a job and to be selected. It really is.
The music department, you guys do something right because it is well known, and I know you guys have worked very hard of going out and recruiting, and it's a very prestigious school to go here. My nephews were IT, but they stayed at the unit. They came to Eastern because they wanted to stay in the band before they went on to get their upper level degrees in IT.
Yeah.
So they loved your department. So that speaks highly of you guys. So how many years here at Eastern now?
This is year 13.
Wow. Okay.
And I do want to add, yes, we have a great faculty in the Department of Music and Department of Art.
You do.
We're very fortunate.
We do.
For both of those.
We do. So very much. There's always a lot of things going on the campus, and we're very blessed to be able to have musical performances that are free to the public and always entertaining. And kudos to the desserts night the other night that you guys played saxophones and music, and it just adds. Just like the ball games. I miss when you're not there playing. It adds just another level of fun. So thank you for that. Well, we're going to talk about the Seder meal is what the actual conversation is going to be about. But you said that you grew up as in a Reformed Jewish household. Can you explain the difference of a Reformed versus the Orthodox Jewish faith? This is something that sometimes is hard for me to wrap my head around. So,
Sure. My father was born and raised Orthodox in an Orthodox household. My mother was born and raised in a very Reformed household. Now, essentially, we have Orthodox. They're perhaps the more strict or the most strict of households, Hasidic as well. And so they will follow certain protocols. For example, they will not work on Saturday, the day of the Sabbath. They will not drive. They will not study, but they will pray. So yeah, very strict rules. They're also more strict for holidays and so forth. Regarding meals, they will have separate ovens for milk or dairy-based meals and meat-based meals. Refrigerators, plates, etc. Any food preparation, they will have separate, um, again, refrigerators or
okay.
ovens, things like that. Where Reformed, almost anything goes. There's the belief that Reformed Jews are Jewish, however, they're pretty modern day. And it's almost like what my mother used to say, cafeteria Jews. You kind of pick and
Mm,
choose what you follow.
okay. Okay. And so, talking about the difference of how you cooked and keeping the food separate, is that what is the description of kosher? Of
Correct.
what the different kosher foods is you don't cross-contaminate them with products or foods?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
it's considered, there are lines in the Torah that mention you shall not eat a kid or a child, or a calf, I'm sorry, a child cow in its mother's milk. And so some people interpret that very, as written. Some people interpret it with a little bit of give and take.
Okay.
But the Orthodox Jews consider that you shall not eat milk with meat. So cheeseburgers are off the table.
Oh. Well, I'd be in trouble on that
Yeah.
one. I would not be very good of an Orthodox person. So that's my favorite meal is a green chili cheeseburger.
Oh,
So you are Reformed, so are a little more relaxed on that,
mhm.
dress codes and different things. But a little bit on this, the difference of Christianity to Jewish
Mhm.
as opposed to the role of what Jesus was. Will you
Right.
touch on that just a little bit as well?
Absolutely, I'll do my best. I mean,
Okay.
I have to admit, I'm just a guy from Jersey.
Well, I love to
But
learn. So I shared
but
with
I'll
that
do.
before. I always have questions, and I love to learn about other cultures and religions. So,
Yeah. So my understanding is that essentially Judaism was essentially a precursor to Christianity, and so Jesus himself was
mhm,
Jewish, followed the protocols of Judaism, and in fact, his last meal was a Passover Seder. Um, and the differences, as you ask about, where Judaism, we essentially, not always, because it depends on the certain sects of Judaism. There are some sects in New York that believe slightly differently. But essentially, in Judaism, we believe that the Messiah has not come yet.
okay,
Whereas Christianity,
right,
they believe Jesus Christ is the Messiah.
okay,
But uh, there are, as I mentioned, some sects in New York where they believe the Messiah did come and it was one of their rabbis, and that comes up now and then, that they're waiting for their rabbi or rebbe, depending on how they pronounce it, to be reborn.
okay. So there is for someone that is not of Jewish faith. Um, it makes me feel better that it's a difficult concept sometimes of all the deviations of this to understand, of all the variables of how much, because, and also you'd said the Torah is actually the Old Testament in
Mhm.
Christianity, right?
Yes.
So, okay, just prior. And then also, the tie-in just, and I thought it was coincidence of, and do you want to explain what Passover actually is first on in Old Testament of what that was?
Mhm. Passover essentially represents the story of Exodus. And so it's a celebration
Okay.
of Exodus.
And so going back to when the Jewish people were held by Egypt, and then they gained their release from slavery, and and left Egypt is basically the Exodus is what that refers to.
Absolutely. And Passover itself, that term is used because at one point, if we know our stories, where the Jewish people were told that the angel of death is coming and you need to, please forgive me, I'll use a Yiddish term, schmear, a little bit of ram's blood on the doorpost in order for the angel of death to pass over that house
Okay.
and go on to the next. And that would be the killing of the firstborn, one of the 10 actions that Moses had to perform in order for the Pharaoh to finally release the Jewish people.
Right, because there was, like you said, up until God sent plagues and all kinds of turned water into blood, and I mean all these different things, and finally it was um, the taking of that firstborn child and the Passover when the angel of death came. Right,
Yes.
is that they didn't take the Jewish with that blood, they didn't take the Jewish firstborn child. So okay, just and so a lot of that Passover is also, but like you said, I didn't know the connection to that in Easter on the Christianity of the rising of Christ. So that was the Passover meal that Jesus had with his disciples.
Yes.
Okay.
And one thing I do want to add, even modern day Jews, they have what's called a mezuzah on their doorpost to represent the lamb's blood. And inside the mezuzah is essentially our Lord's Prayer, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. And that
Okay.
is written inside on a piece of paper, and it's put inside the mezuzah, and we hang it on the doorpost
Okay.
of our house.
Well, the Seder meal is something that is it. Tell me when this is the ceremonial meal, and when does this take place?
It takes place only during the first and second nights of Passover. This year it's in April. I believe
Okay.
it's April 4th on the eve of Passover. And so you read just ever so slightly different scriptures between the first night and the second night. And it also depends if it's during a Sabbath, there's slightly different language that you use for a Sabbath Passover Seder versus a non-Sabbath
Okay.
Passover Seder.
Well, you're going to walk us through this. We have about 10 minutes or so. So I'll just let you start and tell us the different aspects and things that are used in the Seder meal.
Sure,
So
absolutely.
I'll just let you have at it.
Absolutely. Well, first we have some candles here. The candle holders themselves are from Israel. They were a gift from my mother. And typically, if it falls on a Shabbat or a Sabbath, we will light the Sabbath candles and say a prayer. Next to that, we have matzah meal. And typically, if you have chicken or beef, you can coat it with matzah. And here we have a box of matzah. And matzah is made of flour and water, and that is it. Matzah represents the hurriedness of having to leave Egypt, and that it's unleavened bread.
Okay.
And so there was no time for the bread to rise. Hence, we now eat unleavened bread or matzah. And so matzah really commemorates Passover. It's really
Okay.
a big sign of Passover. Also here we have matzah ball mix, a very popular soup. So it's very popular to take matzah and combine it with some eggs and some seasoning and make a soup with chicken stock. I tend to throw parsley and carrots and celery,
Okay.
and the matzah balls will rise from the egg whites. But it is kosher for Passover, so
Okay.
we can do that.
All right.
Here we have a bottle of grape juice to represent the wine that we use. We are on a campus where we don't consume alcohol. I mean, but I used grape juice.
Okay.
I've used it in presentations in the past as well.
This is kind of like unleavened wine.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
has no bubbles.
Yeah, it's unleaded.
That's right.
And so we use that all the time. Here we have a Kiddush cup, and that's usually what we'll use for Elijah. During the Passover Seder itself, there's a point in which we open the door and allow the spirit of Elijah to come, and we offer a drink to Elijah
Okay.
during the meal. I also have a Kiddush cup here This is of special meaning to me. Both Kiddush cups are of special meaning to me. This was my father's Kiddush cup when he was growing up.
Oh, very
And,
special.
and my father passed away many years ago when I was just 20. So a lot of that has meaning to me.
Sure.
This other Kiddush cup was a gift after my friend had passed away. His name is John Bro. He was a lawyer based in Louisiana. He loved music. He played acoustic bass or upright bass and electric bass, and he loved religion. And he loved talking with me
Mm-hmm.
about religion and astronomy and just beliefs and so forth. When he passed, his wife, who's a dear friend of ours, Brenda Bro, she gave us these Seder plates and the Kiddush cup, and she
Very
thought
nice.
John would
That's very
have liked
special.
that.
That's
Yeah, it
very
was very
special.
nice. Next, we have matzah covers. So this is a matzah cover that was my father's, and we used this matzah cover every year when I was a child. So it has special meaning
It
to
does.
me. And this matzah cover on the other side also has special meaning to me in that it was given to us. Thank you. It was given to us by my Aunt Faith, and that was my father's sister. She suffered from cerebral palsy all her life, and she liked being creative. So this was a matzah cover that she had made for us. And
Beautiful.
it's endearing. It has a whole family there, and during Passover Seder. Next, I have a collection of Haggadahs here on the side, and they tend to be Maxwell House. Maxwell House always put out Haggadahs, and interestingly enough, something that's a little different, you'll note, and I can hand one to you just to
Okay.
take a look at. You'll notice it's not quite like a regular book. See, you wanted to turn it the other way, but we read it instead of from left to right, we read it from right to left. So we open it opposite. So
Oh,
we can, yeah. So
oh.
if you want to,
That's interesting. Yeah, that little tougher.
yeah. And luckily, in the Haggadah, for those of us like me, while I can phonetically read Hebrew, I don't always understand it.
Okay.
Uh, but for many of us, we can read the alliteracism of the Hebrew in here. They'll write it out in English, so we can pronounce the Hebrew. However, we may not
Okay.
necessarily understand it.
We're
But
down to about 4 minutes, so I know it's going
wonderful.
fast.
And now the Seder plate itself. We have several items here. We have parsley, the hard-boiled egg, bitter herbs, typically a shank bone, but I must admit we don't eat much meat in our family, so I have chicken here.
Okay.
Romaine lettuce, and charoset. So I'll describe those very quickly. Parsley represents the spring and a new coming. An egg represents the sanctification of the festival itself or the ceremony. The shank bone represents, again, the sanctimony of the Temple of David, as well as the sacrifice that was given, the Paschal Lamb. The bitter herbs represent the bitterness that we had during slavery. The romaine lettuce also represents bitterness, but softened up just a little bit. So the transition from bitterness to sweetness.
Okay.
And then the charoset itself represents the mortar or the bricks that the Jews had when they built things in Egypt, as well as that's slightly sweet.
And what is in it?
Then the charoset itself is made of apples, walnuts, cinnamon, and some wine.
Okay. And my understanding, there's 4 cups of wine, and there's different things through the ceremony.
Yes.
Children ask 4 questions.
Yeah. The 4 cups of wine are the reason we have 4 cups of wine is because there were 4 promises made by God, such as, I will help you through this process. I will help you with the Exodus. I will help set you up where you are, etc. So there were 4 promises made. Also, the 4 questions. Why is this night different than other nights? Why is this meal different than other meals? And so, Ma nishtana halayla hazeh michal halelot, that sets up the 4 questions right there.
Okay.
And usually the youngest will recite those. Also, I wanted to mention
Oh,
we
and
have the shofar. So this is a plastic shofar. It's not a real ram's horn, but it represents a ram's horn, and we will say things like Tekiah, Tekiah Gadolah, and we'll sound the ram's horn, issuing up a new year, a new promise in the land. One thing I also wanted to mention with the parsley, we typically dip the parsley in salt water, and the salt water represents tears that we had over the years. And here we have an empty Seder plate as well. And finally, the yarmulkes that men typically wear in the presence of God. Some will wear it all the time because we're always in the presence of God, and some will wear it only while they're at the synagogue or shul, because then they're closer to God. So.
And music is incorporated, we're close, but music is incorporated in with some of the ceremony as well.
Absolutely. There are typically 3 songs that are tied with Passover, and luckily, most of the time they're in the book itself. So, for example, the last page of here, we have Chad Gad Yah, and they are questions of, or just, then the angel of death came, or then the most holy, blessed be he, and slew the angel of death, who had slain the slaughterer, who had slaughtered the ox. It's a fun verse to recite at the end. It sounds morbid, but at the end, for me, I play a game where I try to say the whole verse in one breath, and at least many people tend to do that. And they made a song of it as well. And so, and Dayenu is a typical song that people would tie in with Passover also.
Rich, I so appreciate you sharing the different parts of this, and I know when I heard this the first time, I thoroughly enjoyed learning, and appreciate that. And then maybe one of these days we can have you come and play for us here in the studio as well.
It would be an honor.
Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Thank you. And to all of you watching today, thank you, and we will see you again next week. Cheers.